It's another Top 5 Tuesday here on the Glory UGA podcast, and today I'm revealing my list of the top 5 impact freshman candidates for the Georgia Bulldogs entering the 2024 season. Obviously, the Dogs put together the #1 recruiting class in the 2024 cycle, but which players in that top-ranked class will make the biggest splash in 2024?
We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
What's up, guys? I'm Tyler, and this is Glory UGA, where I bring you a small sample of what we've got going on the Glory UGA podcast. As always, this video is brought to you by the great people at Alumni Hall, where you will find the best selection of Georgia gear anywhere on planet Earth, including things like this bad boy that I just picked up last week. But today on the show, I am continuing my preview of Georgia's 2024 season by revealing my list of the Dogs' top 5 impact freshman candidates entering the 2024 season. But before we get to that list, real quickly, if you enjoyed today's video, if you like this content, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more content just like this. Like the video, comment, let me know what you think about today's list. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? I'm sure there'll probably be some names you disagree with, maybe a name or two, hopefully a name or two that you agree with. So let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear from you. And of course, most importantly, if you do like today's content, make sure to check out the Glory UGA podcast wherever you get your podcasts for more content just like this, designed for you guys, the most die-hard Georgia fans on the planet. All right, top 5 impact freshmen for Georgia entering the 2024 season. Now, the reality is, guys, true freshmen, by and large, don't make impacts in year one. I'm a guy that's gone on record many times saying that I never count on true freshmen being impact players in year one. I simply do not think that championship caliber programs with championship aspirations like Georgia should really ever be in the position of counting on true freshmen to make impacts. However, saying that, we do also know that every single year there are always a handful of players from the true freshman class that do make impacts in year one. So last year you got C.J. Allen, you got Raylan Wilson, who both started multiple games for Georgia as the season progressed. In 2022, you got Malachi Starks, who didn't start week one, but played week one, played so well he earned a starting role the rest of the year. Michael Williams played a ton for Georgia from week one. In 2021, there's some guy named Brock Bowers, don't know if you've heard of him, who was not only a contributor from week one, was a superstar for Georgia from week one. So there's always a handful of guys in the true freshman class, and that's what this list is about, guys. It's not redshirts, it's true freshmen. There's always a handful of guys that do make impacts early in their career as true freshmen, and those are the players that I'm trying to identify on this list today as it pertains to Georgia's 2024 recruiting class. So let's do it, guys. Let's dive into this list. And coming in at number 5, I've got offensive lineman Daniel Calhoun. Now, I'm kind of breaking one of my own rules here as it regards true freshmen. Offensive line, defensive line, trench play, to me, is the hardest place for you to make an impact as a true freshman on average, right? Because that's the most physical place to play in football. It is, guys. It's the reality. In your average true freshman, 18-year-old, no matter how highly touted you are, your typical 18-year-old true freshman playing against grown men, 21, 22, sometimes 23-year-old grown men in the trenches, that physicality gap is often too wide to overcome. But Daniel Calhoun is a dude that has the physicality right now as an 18-year-old true freshman come in and play right away. Now, obviously, there's more to than that, but at 6'6", 350, the physicality, the size, the strength, that's not a question for Daniel Calhoun. He was a highly rated guy, number 115 overall nationally, according to the On3 industry rankings, number 5 interior offensive lineman out of Walton High School here in the great state of Georgia. Again, 6'6", 350, physicality there. That's not a question. The next question becomes, will you be up to speed with the system to earn the coach's trust enough to be able to put yourself in position to earn playing time? That's one of the questions that every true freshman has to overcome in order to make an impact early in their career. Daniel Calhoun was an early enrollee. He was here for spring practice. And Daniel Calhoun also was working almost from the jump with the 2-deep within our offensive line. So what that tells us is, number one, the coaches like him. They think he's a guy that can help us. And number 2, he got a ton of reps, guys. He wasn't getting garbage reps. Now, all of our guys get reps anyway, the way that Kirby Smart structures practice. But working with a 2-deep, he was getting legitimate reps within our offense. And that would help accelerate his development and his growth as a guy that could potentially, early in his career, play real snaps for Georgia in this 2024 season. Now, the next question that you have to answer, again, for every true freshman is opportunity. Is there an opportunity for you to actually make an impact early in your career? Because you can be insanely talented, but if the position you play is just stacked with upperclassmen who are also, by the way, at Georgia, incredibly talented in their own right, and they have that experience edge on you, it's tough for you to crack the lineup. It really is. So does Daniel Calhoun have the opportunity? Well, in my estimation, yeah, I think he kind of does. Now, I have no expectation for Daniel Calhoun to start as a true freshman. There's really no world that happens unless we just have the most ridiculous spate of injuries at the guard position, which is what he projects to play, that has ever existed in the history of the world. Because there are three guys right now that are clearly ahead of him. You got Tate Ratledge going into his third year, really kind of his fourth year as a starter. I know against Clemson week 1 in 2021, he started that game, but went down in the first drive with a Liz Frank injury. But so technically, like a 4 year, like he's earned the starting job 4 different years. That's what Tate Ratledge has done. He's one of the best interior offensive linemen coming back in the country this year. At the other side, the left guard position, you've got a position battle between Micah Morris and Dylan Fairchild, who were both in a rotation last year. They will be in a rotation of some sort this year, regardless of who ultimately wins that starting job. Morris made some strides. It was Fairchild who started G-Day with the number 1 offense, but both those guys will play and play a lot. And last year, we had a 3-man rotation, really, as the season progressed at that guard position. So we have shown under Stacey Searles as our offensive line coach that we are willing to rotate at the guard position if you have shown that you deserve to play, that you can help us out. And Daniel Calhoun, again, almost from the jump in spring practice, been on campus for like 3 months, was working with the 2 deep. He's not the number 1 guard. He's not the number 2 guard, not the number 3 guard. But I think there's a strong chance that Calhoun can work himself into that number 4 guard role. Now, will we have a 4-man guard rotation? I don't know if we'll have that at the jump. But again, this is a position, guys, where we've had a lot of injuries over the years. The offensive line in general, I mean, go back to Tate Ratledge getting hurt in 2021. Last year, Marius Mims. We've had injuries at that position on the offensive line every single year, sometimes multiple guys going down. So if, God forbid, I hate to put this out in the universe, God forbid, though, if one of those top 3 guards go down, well, if Daniel Calhoun has put himself firmly in that number 4 guard spot, well, he's the next man up to be in that 3-man rotation if we want to continue that rotation to keep those guys fresh, which I would imagine we probably would. So I do think that Calhoun, even though he doesn't really have a chance to start this year, I do think he has a chance to earn some playing time, like real snaps in real significant moments for Georgia by working himself into that 2 deep along the offensive line. All right, moving along here. Coming in at number 4 on my list of Georgia's top 5 impact freshman candidates is another trench player, this guy on the defensive side of the ball, and that's defensive end Joseph Jonah Ajanye. If you've listened to this podcast for a while, you know how I feel about JJA. This dude is legit. He is going to be a big-time player for Georgia. The question becomes, how early will that happen? He was number 29 overall player in the All-3 industry rankings, number 6 defensive lineman, a 5-star prospect, 6'4", 275, prototypical size for Georgia at the 5-tech position, which is where Mykel Williams has played to this point in his career. Trayvon Walker, he's the next in line to be that kind of guy for Georgia at the 5-tech defensive end position. He's insanely athletic. He's got an explosive first step. He's a lot like Calhoun. Physically, he's already there. He's built. He's got the strength. He's got the size to play the 5-tech and hold up on the line of scrimmage for Georgia right now. The question, like with Calhoun, then becomes, all right, well, from a mental standpoint, will he have mastered the system enough to earn the coach's trust to play? Like Calhoun, he's another early enrollee who played a lot in spring practice, was getting reps within the 2 deep on the defensive line. Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, who will almost certainly play ahead of JJA this year. He was out during spring practice dealing with the foot injury that he was dealing with last year. He had to get that taken care of. So what did that do? That gave Joseph Jonah Ajanye a chance to get in more reps during spring practice, which could feasibly accelerate his development at that 5-tech position. And then you go to the question of opportunity. Does JJA truly have an opportunity to play as a true freshman? I think the answer is yes. Who's ahead of him right now? All right, we know Mykel Williams is coming back for his 3rd year. He's a 5-tech guy, but we also know it's been well documented that Mykel Williams will be playing a fair amount of Jack linebacker this year. How much will he play Jack? That remains to be seen. He played a lot of it against Florida State in the Orange Bowl. Not as much during G-Day, but that's G-Day. Like, we're not going to show everything there. And Mykel himself has said openly during spring practice, yeah, I'm still working with the 5 tech, but I'm also going and working with the outside linebackers at times as well. So what does that look like? That remains to be seen, but Mykel will still play some 5 tech for us, at least situationally. Then you do have Tyron Ingram-Dawkins. TID will play there if Mykel Williams is not that number 1 guy. And then Gabe Harris, a rising sophomore who played more for us last year as the season progressed. He's also going to get some reps there at the 5 tech. At least we'll get some looks there. Now, the issue with Gabe Harris is he's a little undersized. He was really brought in as a Jack linebacker. We kind of moved him to the 5 tech last year, but he's like 245, 255 in that range, which is about 20 to 30-ish pounds lighter than we typically have guys play at that 5 tech position. So he's more of a situational player there. So with JJA already being 6'4", 275, having the size, having the physicality, along with the athleticism, I do think there's a realistic chance for JJA as a true freshman to jump ahead of Gabe Harris. I do believe that. I think he has similar athleticism to Gabe Harris. I think he has similar explosive off the edge as a potential pass rusher, but he also is bigger and stronger and can hold up more against the run. So I think he has a chance to earn reps ahead of Gabe Harris if he can show the coach that he understands what we're doing. He can execute the scheme and what we ask him to do. And as an early enrollee, a guy who got a lot of reps in the absence of TID, I think there's a good chance that's the case. So he's not going to be the number 1 5 tech. He won't be the number 2 5 tech. But could he be the number 3 guy? Yeah, absolutely he could. And the more outside linebacker, the more Jack linebacker that Mykel Williams plays, the more opportunities that JJA could end up having for this Georgia football team. So I do think that Joseph Jonah-Ajonye is going to play some real snaps for Georgia as a true freshman at the 5 tech defensive end position. All right, moving inside the top 3 now. This is where things get real. I think that Joseph Jonah-Ajonye and Daniel Calhoun can work themselves into a rotation and play some real snaps for Georgia this year. But these top 3 players, I think they can be significant contributors in year 1. So at number 3, I've got running back Nate Frasier, who is actually the only player on this list that was not an early enrollee here for spring drills. But I still think he has a great opportunity to be an impact player for Georgia in year 1. He is the number 2 running back in the country coming out of high school according to On3 industry rankings, a top 50 overall prospect coming all the way from out west in California, Mater Dei High School, famous high school out there, produces a lot of big-time players, 5'10", 210 pounds. And guys, I'm telling you, Nate Frasier is the total package at running back. Physically, ignore the 5'10". Look at the 210, guys. He is built. He is ready to play right now, physically speaking, for Georgia at the college level as a dynamic running back in my estimation. I think he's dynamic with the ball in his hands. He has elite short area quickness. He's incredibly explosive. He has home run speed. One of the things I love most about him is one of the most underrated attributes of a running back. He has absolutely absurd contact balance, and he runs angry, guys. He's a physical runner. I would say, he runs with a fury. He's just angry. He's furious when he runs, and you see that on tape. And he sometimes will, I don't want to say seek out contact, but when he takes contact, the dude stays on his feet. You're going to get hit at the college level. What can be a separating factor between good running backs and elite running backs is when you get hit, can you stay on your feet and continue to pick up yards? And that is something that Nate Frasier is a master at doing. He also has deceptive power, not necessarily the biggest guy, but again, 5'10", 210. He's a thick 5'10". He has deceptive power, will put his pass down, will run through contact. The dude is just straight up relentless. He will be a future number 1 back for Georgia. I have very little doubt about that. But again, being an impact player as a true freshman is so much about opportunity. So let's look at Nate Frasier's opportunity. Because I'm sure a lot of you thinking right now, well, dude, Tyler, what are you talking about? We just took Trevor Etienne from Florida. He's going to be running back 1. Got Branson Robinson who come back from injury. Got Roger Robinson. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We got those 3 guys. Let's break this down. Yes, Trevor Etienne, I have loved this guy. Well, I hated him when he was a Florida Gator, but I had a lot of respect for him. I always thought he was a really, really good running back. So I was over the moon excited when we got him out of the transfer portal. But we also know what happened during spring practice with his arrest, the DUI, Guys, I can't sit here and tell you that for sure Etienne will be suspended week 1 against Clemson. But I also think there's a really strong chance that is going to be the case. In fact, I think it's more likely than not that he will be suspended week 1. Now, we will not announce that. Kirby doesn't do that. That's something we probably won't find out like the morning of the game. Maybe it'll leak out a day or two in advance, but we won't know that for a while. But if you think about the hit our program took from a perception standpoint, when you go back to the tragic passing of Devin Willock and Chandler LaCroix, and then, of course, all the speeding infractions, all the reckless driving issues that we've had after that, I think it's going to be really hard for Kirby Smart to not suspend Trevor Etienne. I think it's going to be really difficult for him. So I'm not counting on him playing week 1. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he does play because I'm one of the best players on the field for Georgia. But again, I think there's a better chance than not that he's suspended week 1. Okay, so if he's suspended, he's out of the picture for week 1. Well, who do we got to pick up the slack? Well, you think, okay, Branson Robinson. Yeah, he missed last year. This is another highly rated guy from a few years back. He'll be cleared. He'll be ready to go. Right? I don't know, man. Like, do we really want to be in a position where we're counting on Branson Robinson to be ready to be an impact player coming back from an injury week 1 this year? I mean, guys, the patella injury that he suffered was a significant injury. Yes, we know it cost him all of last year. He was not active during spring practice. He was not cleared for practice. Kirby did seem to be optimistic about his progress during spring practice, that he could hopefully be cleared for fall camp. But guys, we don't know that. And what does that mean? If you're clear, like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean you're 100%. You might be 75%. You can go out there and you can start working your way up, getting more and more contacts. So week 1, I just don't know what to expect. And I don't think that we should count on Branson Robinson being the type of guy that he was prior to the injury as early as week 1. I hope I'm wrong because Branson went healthy, like fully healthy Branson Robinson. That's a dude. But I don't know if we're getting that. So if we're not getting that, he might or might not be ready. Trevor Etienne might or might not be playing. Well, if those two guys are potentially out of the picture, what do we got at running back? You got Roger Robinson, who, okay, I thought did some good things as the season progressed. He looked like he got his body in shape. He did some good things in spring practice. I like how he looked in G-Day. But Andrew Paul's gone, baby. He's out the door. So it's Roger Robinson and then a bunch of freshmen. If you take, at least in week 1, if you take Etienne and Branson Robinson out of the picture, right? Well, of the true freshmen, who is most likely to be able to play significant snaps for us and make an impact week 1? I know that Chauncey Bowens was here as an early enrollee and was here for spring practice. I get that. I just think that Nate Frasier's better, man. I just think he's a better player. He's more explosive. I think he's got better vision. I think this guy, again, got better contact balance. I think he's more of a total package than what Chauncey Bowens is. Now, the challenge for Nate Frasier, as a guy who's a summer enrollee, is you got to pick up the system incredibly fast. That's my only question for Nate Frasier. I think the opportunity is going to be there early. I think that he has the physicality, the skill set to play right away. The question for him is, can you pick up enough of the system for the coaches to trust they can hand the ball to you and you know what to do? Do you have full grasp of the offense? Can we run the full offense when you're in the game? Or can we run enough of the offense when you're in the game? Pass protection is another thing that you're going to have to be able to master, at least enough for us to be able to trust you. So those are things that I don't know. But week 1, like, somebody's got to play. And again, I think Trevor Etienne, it's more likely than not that he won't be playing. Branson Robinson, I don't know, man. Again, I would lean towards Branson not being fully ready week 1. I don't know that for sure, but that'd be my lean right now. So then you got Roger Robinson and somebody else that got to play behind him, right? I think that somebody else, the best chance to be that next guy would be Nate Frasier. And if he plays well when he gets opportunities early in the year, which I think that he will, I think he's that kind of dude, he's going to earn snaps the rest of the year. Again, I had no expectation of him being the top guy year 1, but I do think that when he's given opportunities, he will make the most of them because he's that good, and he will earn snaps more and more as the season goes on, and he'll put himself in position in future years to be that number 1 back for Georgia for, I think, years to come. All right, moving into the top 2 here. Now, guys, these two are almost interchangeable. You could have one of them at 1, at 2. You could flip them back and forth, and I would have no argument whatsoever. What I'm going to do here, since we're splitting hairs between these two players, is I'm going to go through each one of them, and then after I go through their skill set and what I like about them, I'll explain to you why I have one of them ahead of the other, okay? So coming in number 2, I've got the highest rated recruit in Georgia's 2024 recruiting class, which of course is cornerback Ellis Robinson IV, the number 2 player overall in the entire country, number 1 cornerback in the country at an IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, 6 foot 175. Not the biggest guy, but he's incredibly long, right? The length is off the charts, and he's just a plus athlete. There's a reason why Ellis Robinson is ranked number 2 in the country, guys. The athleticism is off the charts. The ball skills, off the charts, right? The length, off the charts. That combination creates a player that absolutely deserves to be a top 5 player nationally. Clearly, in my estimation, the number 1 cornerback coming out of this class, and maybe the most prepared to play right away cornerback that Kirby Smart has signed in his time at Georgia. I think that you could argue that point. I think you absolutely could. So I love this guy. I love Ellis Robinson. He's so fluid. He's such a smooth athlete, fluid and smooth in and out of his breaks, explodes out of his breaks, crazy ball skills. There is absolutely a world where Ellis Robinson could start right away. All right. There's a world where that's possible. We'll get to that more here in just a second. However, ahead of him, I've got safety KJ Bolden coming in as number 1 on my list of the most likely impact freshman candidates for Georgia entering this 2024 season. KJ Bolden has a similar physical profile to Ellis Robinson. A lot of the same things I just said about Ellis Robinson, you can say about KJ Bolden. KJ's a little bigger, 6'1", 185, number 14 overall nationally, another 5-star prospect, the number 1 safety coming out of Buford High School, one of the most prestigious programs, one of the preeminent programs in high school football in the entire United States of America. But, I mean, again, a lot like Ellis Robinson, KJ Bolden, incredibly smooth, fluid athlete, explosive, great ball skills. I mean, guys, KJ Bolden was an elite receiver at the high school level. I believe KJ Bolden could play receiver for Georgia and be an elite receiver for Georgia right now. Like kind of like shades of Travis Hunter. I think he could be that kind of guy. Does he project better at safety? Yeah, probably. But ball skills, off the charts, man, out of this world type stuff. And both these guys, Ellis Robinson IV and KJ Bolden, playing in their respective high schools, IMG for Ellis Robinson, and of course Buford for KJ, they played high-level high school football, guys. They played in a ton of big games, played against the best competition in the country. So these guys are tried and tested. They've got the athleticism. They've got the physical tools. The question then becomes about opportunity, right? And that's why I have KJ Bolden ahead of Ellis Robinson, even though Ellis is rated a little bit higher than KJ in this 2024 recruiting class. Let's look at the opportunity both these guys have ahead of them. So Ellis Robinson is a cornerback, right? Well, we do have one returning starter coming back at corner, right? That's Dalen Everett, who is a returning starter. Is it more of a continuous hold on that starting position at cornerback? Yeah, probably, but he is a returning starter nonetheless. Now, the other cornerback position, that is an open competition, but how open is it really, right? There are 2 primary contenders for that spot. Both guys flirted with entering the transfer portal. We were able to get both of them to come back because we sold them on the chance to come back and earn a starting spot. We're high on both those guys, being, of course, Julian Humphrey and Daniel Harris. Humphrey entering his 3rd year, Harris entering his 2nd year within our system. Those were the top 2 guys at that battle, at that cornerback battle, opposite Dalen Everett coming into spring practice. Now, I will say that Ellis Robinson did insert himself into that battle, firmly into that battle, but there's still a gap when it comes to experience. You have, again, Humphrey 3rd year, Harris 2nd year, and those guys are a notch above where Ellis Robinson is right now. So he's got to work his way ahead of those guys in order to have a chance to start at corner. Now, could we potentially have a rotation of sorts at corner? Yes, but how many guys are we going to rotate? You can say we had a 3-man rotation of sorts last year. It was really Kamari last year played almost every snap. And then you're rotating Dalen Everett and Julian Humphrey. But are we going to rotate 4 guys? That I don't know. So it's just, I think there's more for Ellis Robinson to overcome at corner than there is for KJ Bolden to overcome at safety. Because if you look at the safety position, yes, like corner, we have an established starter, a guy that's a solidified, bona fide starter, and Malachi Starks, a returning first-team All-American. He's unquestionably going to start at one of the safety positions. But that other safety spot, I just simply think, is a more wide-open battle than what we've got at that cornerback spot. And also the players that KJ Bolden is in competition with at that open safety position are just simply not of the same caliber as the guys that Ellis Robinson is having to compete with at cornerback. Because if you look at that safety spot, who is KJ Bolden competing with? Dan Jackson, who I love. I mean, how do you not love Dan Jackson? He's got some starting experience for us, but it's also kind of the point. Dan's been at Georgia for 5 years. He's got 5 starts in 5 years. He's going to year 6. Now, he has clearly quite a bit of an experience edge over KJ Bolden, but athletically, it's not even close. KJ is just so much more athletic and physically gifted than Dan is. Not saying Dan's a slouch, but KJ is just another level, man. Just another level. David Daniel Sisavon, another guy like Dan Jackson, not going to his 6th year, going to his 4th year, has an experience edge over KJ Bolden. And while David Daniel Sisavon's a good athlete, he's not a KJ Bolden level athlete. He's just not. Ja'Cory Thomas going to year 3, good athlete, not KJ Bolden level athlete. Jake Pope coming over from Alabama. I like Jake Pope. I think Jake Pope could be a really good player for us. And while he's a good athlete, he's not a KJ Bolden level athlete. He's just not. But if you look at the cornerback spot with Ellis Robinson, while Ellis Robinson might be and probably is a slightly better overall athlete than Julian Humphrey and Daniel Harris, the gap between him and those guys is far smaller than the gap between KJ Bolden and the other guys he's contending against at that safety spot. So that's why I have KJ Bolden coming at number 1 on my list of Georgia's top impact freshman candidates entering the 2024 season. I simply think he has a better opportunity and that the obstacles for him to overcome to start as a true freshman are simply not as great as the obstacles in front of Ellis Robinson IV. So there you go, guys. That's my list of Georgia's top 5 impact freshman candidates entering the 2024 season. Let's recap it real quick. We got number 5, Daniel Calhoun, offensive guard. You got at number 4, you got defensive end Joseph Jonah-Ajane. Number 3, running back Nate Frasier is the only summer enrollee on this list. At number 2, cornerback Ellis Robinson IV. And number 1, safety KJ Bolden. Yes, as I said, guys, if you want to have Ellis Robinson ahead of KJ Bolden, you're getting no argument from me. It makes a lot of sense. He is a top-rated player in this class. Again, just think that KJ Bolden has a better opportunity with the guys he's competing against to play earlier and potentially earn a starting role for Georgia at the safety position. But all right, guys, I appreciate you checking this out. Again, if you like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and check out the Glory UGA podcast wherever you get podcasts for more content just like this, designed for you guys, the most diehard Georgia fans on planet Earth. But I'm Tyler, and as always, go Dogs!
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.